Tonight, or today, we will be viewing part 4 of our discussions with Richard Trask, our archivist and historian. And it'll be the Danvers current at the time of the Revolution and the Revolution period for independence, and where Danvers participated in the 1776 revolution in the country of ours. And we have been blessed with the dissertation from Richard Trask in regard to how things were at that time. And I have at this time also, there will be a segment that will follow, and it will have the town meeting discussion, government in the town of Danvers, with Richard Trask that I presented in the past. And we'll talk about that as the time comes. So that'll be in part 5. So thank you very much for participating. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me or to Richard Trask. Thank you.
Just a little commentary about the open town meeting versus representative town meeting. As Richard has indicated, we've had representative town meetings since the 1930s. I belong to the Massachusetts Moderators Association, and so in those meetings, you do get that combination of both folks like me who are involved in a representative town meeting, and those folks who are who I think at some point struggle with the open town meeting for several reasons. As Richard's indicated, population, they end up having to have different rooms for town meeting members. They'll have a quorum at the beginning of the night. As Richard's indicated, people who are invested in one topic will come, will vote, and they'll leave, and they'll lose their quorum by the end of the night. I think given in today's world, a representative town meeting actually works a lot better.
But you also have an opportunity as a resident, after the town meeting members discuss and debate the issues, a resident can be recognized and speak to the issue as well.
Absolutely. So once the elected town meeting members have an opportunity to ask questions, to make comment, to debate, a town resident, they don't sit within the town meeting body. They sit at the back of the room. But once the formal debate has concluded, they are very free to participate. I think that there's not too many that take advantage of that scenario, but it is certainly available. The other difference, as Richard has indicated, there, in going through town meeting currently is also regulated by state statute. Requires us to meet, if you're a town form of government with a town meeting, we're required to meet once a year, to vote on an annual budget and take up other business that may be important to the town. Richard's talked about the warrant, the importance of the warrant. That is under state law the exact same today. The select board, they set the agenda by publishing the warrant. We only vote and consider those items that are on the warrant and have been published. So there's no new business. There's no really opportunity for somebody to raise their hand and say, well, I think we should be voting on this tonight. The agenda, the time, and the place, and the date is all set by the board of the select board. And so that has not changed. So I thought it was interesting when Richard was talking about some of the historic votes that had taken place, particularly in the 1700s leading up to the Revolutionary War. And you think of town meeting as being these rabble-rousers, but in effect, those were for them to have taken a vote, it was a warrant. So that was the agenda, those were the proposals initially published and discussed by the select board for the town.
Well, the town meeting itself, the 144 town meeting members that we have are basically the legislative body of the town, and they hold the purse strings and they authorize any action that are being proposed.
So it is. It is in essence a legislative body, but unlike legislatures that we may think about, such as our state legislature or Congress, the town meeting does not. They don't hold hearings. They don't propose bills. They don't. What we vote on is essentially that agenda. Again, is set by the Board of Selectmen.
Right.
Or the select board.
So well, you're using the right terminology, the select board. I call them the selectmen.
I keep on historically, and I sat on a board that was called
I know,
Board
we
of
sat
Selectmen.
next to each other at one time. But the thing is that the town meeting is so important
Absolutely.
that people really in the general public don't realize that they have the full responsibility of what goes on in the town. Even if the Board of Selectmen, Select Board, may propose things, the town meeting can say no.
Exactly. And I think it's important to note that the town meeting votes on all appropriations. They vote on borrowing. They vote on acquisition or disposition of land.
Right.
And so it really all and for significant bylaw changes, there's a chunk that just the privy of the select board, but for the vast majority of bylaws and regulations, those are also the subject and under the purview of the town meeting.
And the one thing that I'd like to stress, and Jack, if you can put up the org chart again, the voters are the key to this organization, whether it's the Board of Selectmen, the school committee, and the library trustees. Those are the 4 elected positions that people can get involved.
Most certainly, and so, but also the town moderator. The town moderator position is only elected annually. It is the only position that is required to be elected annually. And maybe Richard can talk a little bit about the historic perspective, but I've always believed that to be true because it is so important for the moderator to just be even-handed, to be middle of the road, and et cetera. And so that if you have a town moderator who is, I think, abusing that privilege of running the meeting, then by the time the next annual town meeting comes up, the voters can certainly dispose of somebody that they don't like or trust.
Well, see, there you go back to my original statement. The challenge of leadership is to be strong, but not rude. Be kind, but not weak. Be bold, but not bully. Be thoughtful, but not lazy. Be humble, but not timid. Be proud, but not arrogant. Have humor, but without falling.
And I hope I live up to that quote, Mark, because it just, I've always viewed the moderator as giving all sides of an issue a reasonable opportunity to be heard. If you raise your hand, you're not guaranteed to be called on to speak, but I like to try to, and that's the way I like to run the meeting. If there are discussions across the precincts, and I try to get to everybody and then come back again, because I just think that's so important to have just that wide variety of opinion expressed in a public meeting in a way that is not personalized. It's a way that is civilized,
Nothing personal.
respectful, and I try to lead with humility in that. I often will misspeak. I'll make fun of myself at some points, and
Sometimes we make fun of you.
well, that's right. Or I'll hear some
But you have to
noise
have
up there.
humor in doing
You
this.
have to have humor in doing it. And I think, to me, the big thing is we are all neighbors. And so that, to me, is an important factor, that nobody should be frightened of getting up and asking a question or participating in the debate. I speak for my living. I make my living by public speaking as an attorney, and I recognize that a lot of people feel very uncomfortable in that venue.
That's
And I work very hard, particularly in advance of the town meeting, with town meeting schools, so that everybody understands how the meeting's going to go, the rules of the road, and to encourage folks to really get up and speak.
Right.
Now, it's interesting because, as you indicated, there's 144 members who are elected across 8 precincts, 18 to a precinct. That changes, as you know. It changes every 10 years due to the census and recalculation of the population and where the population is within the town, growth within the town. And then you have the 5 members of the select board, also members of town meeting. And unlike olden days, they get to vote on what they've proposed. And so you do have that.
Now, I just want to remind everyone is that you have produced, or you have assisted in producing, this town meeting handbook, which is basically the result of a lot of study of the town charter, the Town Manager Act, and you as a town moderator, what qualifications does anybody need?
To be town moderator?
To be town moderator or town meeting member?
No. So I think for any elected position, there are no qualifications to get on the ballot, with the exception of the requisite number of signatures that one has to produce
And
on
a
the
resident,
nomination,
and a
a resident. You don't have to be a taxpayer. You can be a renter to hold any position in town. All you have to do is be a resident. For town meeting members, I just really encourage that if folks are interested in really, frankly, having a seat at the table. That's how I began my involvement. I had a young child who would be entering the school system, and I really wanted a seat at the table when when all types of decisions were being discussed. Right. So I think town meeting is an excellent way to initially get involved. It's a pretty limited time commitment. You get exposed to all areas of government. Unlike when I think the 3 of us started out in office, the various offices we've held, now everything is on either TV or YouTube channel. So you don't have to go to the Finance Committee meetings. You don't have to go to the Select Board meetings. You can actually view and obtain information without leaving your home.
Well, you're going to contradict my Albert Einstein, quote.
Oh, no,
because the personal interface at the town meeting or at the Finance Committee meeting, that's another role that you have. You appoint the town Finance Committee.
But I'm in trying to make the argument and encourage folks to be interested in town meeting and running for town meeting seats. you try to make it as easy as possible for people to listen and say, hey, I could do that.
Right.
Hey, I could make that time commitment. I personally think it's so much more preferable to be in person at these meetings, but with the understanding that in today's busy world, you really don't, oftentimes you don't have the opportunity to do that.
Well, the thing that I think people have to understand, and Richard, if you can help me here, is that the town meeting itself is really responsible for addressing all the proposals or the spending that's happening, and they have their own precincts that they are representing at the town meeting. And certain things happen in one precinct and not in others, but they all have that responsibility to move forward in town business.
Right.
The town meeting does not make day-to-day decisions. Even the Board of Selectmen don't make those day-to-day decisions because they have delegated their authority to a manager, whether it's the school department, the superintendent, or the Board of Selectmen delegates their authority and responsibility to the town manager, and the library trustees delegate their responsibility and authority to the library director. So there are levels of management. Town meeting is so important, and people really don't get it yet. And
Right.
that's why we want to make sure that history has proven to us that we are all together in this, whether there are 6,000 of us or 28,000. We have 28,000 population in this
Right.
town. And that is a responsibility that the town meetings have to carry. So in conclusion, I don't know what we can add to this, but Richard, your exposure to town meeting, you've been on there since 67, 68. I've been on town meeting, I don't know, but I was on the finance committee that was
Beforehand.
appointed at that time. That's an important position, and I was there for 10 years. And it's a opportunity to really get involved into nuts and bolts of what's going on with the budget. And that's why I know too much about the budget, so that they don't like me for that. So, in conclusion, do you see much difference from the historic perspective to the current perspective of what is going on with our government? I mean, at that level, at the town meeting level.
If you look from the beginning down till now, much of how we governed ourselves then is similar to what we do now. With new technology, huge populations, new problems that we wouldn't have even thought about 100 years ago. We have to, we have a town manager, which we didn't have, and that's been the case since 1949.
Right.
We had a representative town meeting which came in 1930, which made town meetings back in the 1880s and 1890s used to go for 4 or 5 nights. And there would be huge fights and so forth. The other difference between town meeting today and then is that at the annual town meeting, in the early days, we actually did all of the voting. First vote was for the town moderator for that particular meeting. And then it would be for the Board of Selectmen and for the 40 or 50 other positions that were required. And that's one thing that kept a number of people coming to town meeting, because if you weren't there, it was easy to say, well, John Smith, let's make him collector of taxes. And you didn't want to be, or a constable, and you didn't want to be that. So you often would be there to say, well, I'm sorry, but I can't do that. We mentioned earlier how I always say the selectmen, because that's how it was pronounced back in the old days. Now it's the board.
Select board.
Yeah, select board. They make up the warrant for things that they realize are important for the community and for the functioning of the town. But here's an example. We still have it today, citizen petitions.
Right.
This is a citizen petition in 1776 signed by 8 or 9 important citizens at the time, and in this particular case it was for establishing a Minuteman unit in Danvers for ready response. And that was always important. It made it so that town meeting was a functioning evolutionary organization that was able to take care of what the major concerns were for people at that time.
See, right now we have very similar type of a system for citizens petitions.
And that's legislatively. That's
Right.
not a town that is under Massachusetts general laws, the ability to, for citizens to petition to a town meeting. So that remains unchanged.
And that has been active in our town, and
Absolutely,
we've
yeah.
experienced that in our
Absolutely, yeah.
existence here. The thing is that citizens petitions, I think at annual town meeting, all it takes is 10 signatures. And for a special town meeting or a special petition, it takes, 100, I
Yeah,
think.
right.
100 signatures. Usually you get more than that, but you can request anything you want. And the thing is, the town meeting may say, forget it.
Right.
We don't want you to they have to consider it, but they don't have to vote it in or out.
Right.
So,
And so, again, to that citizen petition, aspect, citizen petition is filed with the town clerk,
Right.
who certifies the number of signatures. It is actually placed by the select board on the warrant.
right.
That's the current process. So it's contained in a warrant. It's not something that's got sent out to the town meeting members. It is made part of a warrant, either for a special town meeting or part of the annual town meeting warrant. And so I think the select board, as part of their warrant hearing, will discuss the citizen petition. Citizen petition is, again, because it's part of the warrant, part of the purview of the Finance Committee, will be discussed by the Finance Committee. They'll vote a recommendation, and that recommendation becomes the main motion, as you know, at town meeting.
And your involvement with the Finance Committee, you're the appointing authority.
I'm the appointing authority. I'm the appointing authority actually for 2 entities. One is the Finance Committee. The other is for the town's representative to the Essex Tech Board. And then again, oftentimes the moderator is requested or in charged with selecting people to join a committee that may have a special function.
Right.
So for an example, right now, there's as a result of action taken at the annual town meeting in May, there is a committee that I reached out to folks and we formed to provide a town meeting and the select board guidance on future historic districts, et cetera. So
Historic preservation
preservation and
district, yeah.
districts, yeah. So, but I've just found this fascinating. I've always frankly cherished the position, holding the position of town moderator, truly. And after listening to Richard's description from probably like the first known town meeting time book, I'm even more, I feel even more just humbled and
Well,
hold
I
the
think you have
position.
that book on reservation
Yeah.
with Richard,
I'll
and
be
you have
in.
to visit him because that is also the history behind this is very interesting. People don't understand it, and they don't want to learn. That's why we want to get this thing out to the general public. So, what we're going to do now is I like to give both of you, I think I've covered most of the items. Danvers voters are in charge, basically. That's what they elect the town meeting members, they elect the moderator, and they elect the Board of Selectmen, the school committee, and the library trustees. That's a town-wide vote.
Exactly, and I think it's important to note, and you showed that on your org chart, that the select board, they hire the town manager.
Right.
So theoretically, you would, the folks that get voted into that select board are chosen by the voters, and they select. Same with the library director, same with the superintendent, that, you know, I would argue that indirectly, the voter is choosing those managerial positions by the
Election of the boards.
by the election of the boards. Absolutely.
Town meeting is the legislative body elected by precinct, and we have 18 per precinct, 144 altogether, plus the 5 voters from the select board. And then who, when, and how elected or appointed, I think we've explained that pretty much. You've had that in your history side, and you have your current side. And we are all of us are subject to Mass General laws and town charter, because every one of these positions is identified in the town charter or the Town Manager Act. It's one and the same thing. And the general laws are the ones that are governing us through the, what do we have at the time, colonial days? We had
General Court.
General Court. And now they still call themselves General Court.
Yeah.
So it's the legislative part of legal side. Town meeting handbook. You have been a contributor to this, and I remember that coming out back when we were on the board.
Well, so, and I will say that this, the town meeting handbook was last updated in 2002, which was an important anniversary within the town. And so it was published in celebration of that, and working closely with the town clerk at that time, and assistant town clerk. I came in on the tail end. So I provided their editorial assistance
There you
at
go.
the end.
The legalese. The Town Manager Act is a strong Town Manager Act, but and I call it the weak Board of Selectmen, because they do not give the town manager day-to-day responsibilities. They provide them the policies that they want to be followed. And one thing that the Town Manager Act provides is politics are aside from his role, except through the Board of Selectmen, and they have the ultimate responsibility of what the town management does in this town.
And I think that's fair to say. I think the way to really look at it, and you and I both served on the board, Mark, at the same time, and I think the way to look at it is the select board is they set the policy that the manager then executes.
Correct. So, in conclusion, what I'd like to do is give Mr. Trask, Richard Trask, an opportunity to closing comments. What do you think? Is this something worthwhile for our general public to be familiar with?
Absolutely. We get the government we deserve, which if people aren't informed, don't want to know what's going on, we'll get bad government. And nowadays, more so than ever, we have to be vigilant to make sure that the Constitution of the United States is adhered to, that our civil authorities continue to do what's best for the people,
Yep.
guided by the Constitution. And those people who kind of are on the sidelines should really, if they are interested, they should bite the bullet and get involved.
Step in, right?
Yep, in local, state, and federal politics. It's very important.
Mrs. Fraser.
So
How about you?
And so I would totally agree with Richard on that. You know, I think it's so easy for folks to sit on a fence and throw rocks at what's happening. It's a lot different and a lot harder to get off the fence and be involved, and not just be a bystander, offering oftentimes negative commentary. That I really encourage people to get involved, and to really to be heard. There are so many opportunities within municipal government to be heard, and we've alluded to those. You know, all of these, the select board, the school committee, the library trustees, they are all subject to the open meeting law. And so they have open meetings, citizens can come and listen, and again, listen and be heard at those meetings.
Right. So that's an opportunity for all our residents to get involved. But Jack, if you can just throw up my Tasmanian devil, and that's what I wanted to express to everyone is, I miss the good old days. Remember when you could actually have an opinion without offending somebody. And I think this is so appropriate to get this out on the air, and I'm going to issue these programs in a series, 1 through, because this is the most important one right now, because that sort of encompasses the entire town government, which is the people. And that's what we need to get across. So at this stage, we are now discovering that the town meeting and the town moderator work hand in hand. And this is where Richard has explained to us of how it works. And it's been in existence since day one of this community and this region, New England itself. However, at this stage, what I'd like to do is this will lead us into the next segment, or the next part, which will go into how the Board of Selectmen, or the Select Board, as they call themselves now, functions during and after the Revolutionary period, and it continues until we get into 1939 or 1949, when the Town Charter and the Town Manager Act is completed and devised to run our community. So look forward to part 5, which will include how the Board of Selectmen functions with the town government. Thank you.